Hello viewers, this is Katsis coming up with another video tutorial. This tutorial is all about assembly in Freecad. Let's take back and think about assembly of parts. Assemblies are everywhere. If you are watching this video on computer, phone or tablet, they are all put together with individual components. If you are to master CAD software, you need to know how to assemble bodies in CAD. Particularly, standardized parts are widely used in assemblies. Today, I have 4 individual components as shown here, and let's assemble them using Assembly4 in Freecad. So let's start with a new model. So this is the interface you will get into when you start the Freecad. So if you are in the part design, you need to go to the Assembly4 workbench. Now if you have not installed the Assembly4 workbench, you need to do that first. So you go to the tools, you go to the add-on manager, and all the workbenches you will see, you will get them here. Now I have already installed the Assembly4, so I'm not going to install it again. But if you have not, the way to see that is to, it'll appear as, in a black color like this. Now speaking of the assembly 2, this is something that is, if you're using Freecad version 17 or higher, this is somewhat obsolete. You can read the more details about the assembly 2 in the Freecad wiki. I will put a link to that. We are not going to install it because I'm using a later version. So I'm not going to install that. But if you are interested in, learning about the assembly 2, you can go to the Freecad wiki. So once you click on this assembly, like let's say it'll say install and update the selected, you will do that, it will get installed, and once it is done, you close it out, you get it out, and then in order for it to be active, you need to restart the Freecad. So I'm not going to demonstrate that, I'm going to just exit that, and in your case you will need to restart the Freecad. So let's start the Assembly4 workbench. So I'm going to go to Assembly4. Now before we start, just a quick word here. The Assembly2 Plus or A2 Plus is another assembly workbench. We are not going to talk about that. There will be a separate video on that. We are only going to talk about the Assembly4, okay, for today's tutorial. And I think Assembly4 is a little bit more robust as well. So let's click on that. Now when you go into the Assembly4 workbench, you will see several buttons in this ribbon. Now let me describe several of them that we are going to use today. The first one is the create new assembly model 4. So this is the one that essentially, you create, we will start creating the assembly. So I'm going to click on that. You will see there's two things that appear. There's like a folder appears here, and then you will see a model. Now this, you cannot create multiple of them in the same model. You can only do one. Okay, if I try to go and create one, it'll say document already contains an Assembly4 model. So you can only do once. Okay, now the second button is the part, or the new part, or we call it the standard part. which we have discussed in our earlier tutorials. Now this one, you can create multiple of them, and you can essentially create multiple assemblies by putting this one. And the next button is the body, so which we know already, this the standard body that we create. You can any assembly you should have multiple bodies, so that's given, right? The other button that we'll be using heavily is the insert a link to a part. Now this one is where you will link up your parts file, or the parts in this or the bodies in this folder, to the actual assembly. And then of course another button that is we will be using heavily is the creation of coordinate system. So this is like a local coordinate systems that you create, that is essential to have the link between part to part. Okay, so having said that, let's do some kind of a simple stuff here first. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to parts, and I'm trying to go and create a body here. So I'll say body 1, and you will see that that body is appearing here. So I can maybe I can do another one. So let's say body 2, that body will appear here again. So you can have multiple bodies. So think of it this way: if before you start the assembly, you have to have each individual component, right? So if you have a work table in your garage, or whatever place where you work on putting together some kind of component, or some kind of a part, you have a work table. Now the work table, you put the individual pieces first, and then you pick each one of them and start assembling. So this would be more like your work table where you keep your individual parts. Okay, now the good thing about this is not anything different than what we have used to do in our part design or anything. So you can essentially create bodies, or manipulate body, create sketches, draw stuff, maybe rectangles, all that stuff. You can do it here. So the way to do that is you click on this and go to, let's say, part design. Now you are in the part design workbench. You essentially you say, okay, I want to create a maybe more like a let's say so I have to make it active first. So I'm going to make it active. So now it's active. So I'm going to say XY body, and let's say I'm going to create a rectangle, and I'm not going to put any dimensions here. This is just a demonstration. I'm going to pad this guy. So you got a some kind of a box, okay, solid here. So that is created. So that's one body. Let's do another one here. I'm going to make this guy active this time, and then go to sketch again. Maybe I'm going to put a different plane. Now I'm going to draw, let's say, circle. Get out of there. Now I'm going to pad this guy. So now you got a couple of bodies. Okay, now the main thing that you will do in the assembly is build a relationship between the two, and that's you go back to the let's say go to the Assembly4, and now you can start building that relationship between the two and position them accordingly, and that will create your assembly. In this tutorial, I'm going to make things a little bit interesting by going to a assembly with more paths. I would like to take this moment to thank all my subscribers. If you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing as this will help the channel grow. My Google Analytics show that only 5% viewers subscribe. I will need more subscribers to reach 1000 mark and your help is greatly appreciated. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will not miss the upcoming videos. So here I have opened 4 separate files and each containing a body. Okay, so this is, I call it the base plate, and this one is a screw or a bolt. I could have used one that is available in Freecad. You know, you have plenty of standard bolts and screws, but you know, in terms of timing, I just created one for to demonstrate this tutorial, right? So the next one is a bracket and I have a pin. So these 4 I'm going to combine them into a part assembly. So let's start with a new file and I'm going to name this. I'm going to save it as, say, let's say bracket assembly. Okay, so now, so I have now 5 individual files opened. Now what I'm going to do is, since I'm already in the Assembly4, I'm going to create an Assembly4 model. Okay, so we got the Assembly4 model. Now next thing is to get all these parts into this folder. Okay, so how do we do that? Now there are you can maybe put some links, but I'm not going to do that right now. I think for this tutorial to demonstrate, I'm going to just maybe just copy and paste. Okay, and that's pretty easy. So what I'm going to do here is, in this file I have a body, just a one body, so I'm going to click on that and I'm going to copy. I'm going to get everything, so I'm going to say okay, then go here, click in this folder and then paste it. So voila, we got a body, and I'm going to recompute it. So you can see there's a body already. Okay, that's the base plate we brought into this file. I think you can do this in version 18 and higher, Freecad version 0.18 and higher. So you could give it a try. So I'm going to rename this body, let's say base plate. Okay, so once I rename it, I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to just close this guy. Okay, so we got one here. Now the next one is going to bring this screw. So same thing, same procedure, copy and go to the bracket assembly folder and paste it. Now recompute it and then we can rename it. Say screw. Then we're going to go back here, close this guy. Actually, can close it here. And now the next one. Once again, copy. I'm going to get everything. Then go to the folder. Okay, so we are getting stuff here. We compute that and go back and close this guy. Got 3 out of 4 right now. Let's give the last one. Copy. Okay, so we got all the 4 parts, and we're going to go back to this file and close it. So yeah, so you got 4 parts. They are all over the place. They're not connected. Just like as I said in the workbench or the work table, you have 4 parts separately. Now next step is to assemble them. So I'm going to save it first. Now I'm going to pick this guy or this top bracket as the first one to bring into this model or the assembly. Okay, the reason is everything, all the other three parts revolve around this. So this screw goes into these 2 holes, and this bracket is underneath that, and this pin goes here. So the first thing is we're going to bring this guy first. So I'm going to activate this. Okay, so the way I activated that was to click on it, double click on it. Now there's a dark color box around it. That means this body is active. So you have to make it active, and then I'm going to somehow I got out of assembly, so I'm going to go back to the assembly4. Now I'm in the assembly4. I'm going to pick on this top bracket, and it is activated, and I'm going to create a coordinate system, which is a local coordinate system. Okay, now where should I create that local coordinate system? Now you can see it put a coordinate system in this part's origin. Okay, that's the default, but I want to put it in somewhere that I can use it. Okay, so my intention is is to first put this pin into this hole and rest against this flat surface. So obvious place for me to place this local coordinate system is here. Okay, around this circle or the center of this circle, and axially placed in line with this face. Okay, so that's the obvious place for me to do that. Now how to do that is, you have this, I have to select a feature. I'm going to select this circle. Now it hasn't moved, it's still on the origin, the local coordinate system. Now I have to go here and select the inertial coordinate system. Now that's what it did. It put it here. Now I could stop here, but I would like to have a good reference. I'm going to align this my x-axis in the whole axis. So I mean, you could do this, you could leave it as it is. Then you should remember that your z-axis is aligned with the whole axis. So how do I know this x-axis? Because in Freecad, color red indicates x, color z or the color blue indicates z, and color green indicates y. Okay, that's kind of the notations or the standard the Freecad goes by. So this is a local coordinate system attached to this body, and I want my local coordinate x-axis aligned along the whole axis. So how do I do that? Now I'm still in this menu. I'm going to rotate this coordinate system around y, right? That's the obvious choice. So going to go here, and say around y. The around y means rotating around y-axis. So let's put 90. I need to rotate it by 90. So you can see that it already did that. Okay, so I'm satisfied with that. Now, do I care about y and z axis direction? Since this is a whole, I don't care, because in order to define this, I only need this to be aligned along the whole axis. So I'm going to say okay and exit out of it. Now you can see my top bracket has a local coordinate system defined. Now I am going to, since this is recomputing, I need to say yes, recompute. This is done. And now I'm going to bring this guy, since I already created one, I'm going to bring this guy into this model. Now how do I do that? I'm going to insert, and I'm going to pick the top bracket, say insert, and now it says local coordinate system, and it asks for a parent assembly coordinate system. I'm going to pick this guy. I mean, you could create a separate coordinate system here and align with that, but I'm good with the as it is. So a little bit details on this. So the selected link is the top bracket, and attached to is the parent assemblies. Parent assembly means that empty box we have, and the top bracket have my local coordinate system, and I'm going to align that local coordinate system to the parent assembly origin. That's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so let's say okay. Now it is done. Now why it is there are you see that there are like two bodies. Okay, so because this has this folder, I have a body and I have a body in this model. Now technically this is just a model that I took from here and reposition it. Okay, so I'm going to say for now I don't need this guy. I'm going to deactivate it, and I'm going to have this guy here. Now you can see there's a local coordinate system defined, and that local coordinate system you can see is aligned with the model origin. So which is the model origin, or the model coordinate system is this, the one that is showing here and here and here, right? So that's what we did. Okay, now so we'll have to start assembling them, each individual component. We bought the first one in. Now I'm going to go back to this folder. I'm going to pick on this pin. Now I'm going to activate that guy, or double activate it. Now this is active. You can see the pin is active. I didn't screw up anything here. Okay, so the pin is active. Now what I need to do is put a coordinate system into the pin. Now for while being, let's make this guy inactive, or not active, but make it hide by pressing the space bar. Okay, so if you press the space bar, it is visible. If I press it again, it is going to be invisible. Okay, now I can make this guy disappear by going here and pressing the space bar, and I'm going to press the space bar here as well. Now this origin coordinate system, I'm going to say press A and press C after that. That will dissipate. If you want to get it back, you can press A and C again. So now obvious place for us to put the local coordinate system on this one is here, right? Because this face was resting against the bracket holes, the face, right? So I need to create another local coordinate system into the pin, align it with this face at the center of the hole, and make the x-axis same, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, somehow got out of Assembly4 again. I'm going back in. Now when you want to create local coordinate system, one thing to keep in mind is to go and click on it like that. Okay, so it knows where to put the local coordinate system. Now it is got highlighted. Going to create one here, so it put it somewhere, and I want it to be here. So let's say selecting, it seems like it's selected where I want it. So anyway, going to say, now I need, only thing I need to do is to rotate it about Y. See what can be done here. Okay, so hit rotate it the other way. I'm going to say -Y and say okay. Now I want the way it is. Going to say okay, get out of it. Now I have a coordinate system, local coordinate system defined in the pin. I'm going to recompute it. Now let's see what we can do here. I'm going to show this guy. Now it seems like what we want to align those two coordinate systems and our problem will be solved, right? So when I bring this guy into this model, I want it aligned such a way. So let's bring the pin in say insert pin. Now it is asking where to attach to. So I have the pin selected. Now it asks where to attach to. I want to attach to the bracket. So I'm going to say top bracket, right? And then I'm going to pick on these two and say okay. That should take care of the problem. Let's see. So I can still see this guy. Okay, so there you go. So you got the two parts attached, right? So essentially what we did was we created local coordinate systems on the bracket as well as on the pin at the same location, at the same orientation, just the X or the whole axis orientation. And then when I brought them in, I aligned them, those coordinate systems, to be in line. That's all I did. And that essentially put the parts in. So it makes sense, right? This is just a bracket and a pin. Goes into the hole, and essentially it is the hole. You are putting two parts with respect to the each other by aligning axis. That's all we did, right? So we are going to do the similar things to the other parts as well. So now what we are going to do is to bring the base plate in. Okay, so I'm going to first hide this model, and I have the base plate here, and then I have the top bracket here. Okay, so I'm going back to the parts folder. Now what I want to do is aligned the base plate, one of the holes on the base plate, with this one. Let's call this guy the right hole and this one the left hole, based on the orientation of the pin. Okay, so this right hole has to be aligned with actually this guy, right? Because it seems like this is in the reverse direction, depending on how you want to align it. But I'm going to go the difficult part of doing this hole aligning with this hole. Okay, so it has to kind of rotate it and align with that. So now how do we do that? So the obvious way to do that is, because this face rest on, let's go back here, right? So you have to have a coordinate system defining it here, and same one defining on the other face, right? So that's the obvious choice, right? So we are going to activate the base plate again, not the base plate, the top bracket. So I'm going to hide this guy, and I want to activate the top bracket. So every time I do that, I'm kind of getting kicked out of the assembly4, but that's fine. We can go back in. Okay, so the now I'm going to pick on this. Now it's active. Okay, it's active. Now I want to create a new coordinate system. Call it whole right. Say right coordinate system. Okay, so we call it bottom. Okay, just for B for bottom. Okay, now I rename that. It is putting into the original location, right? That's not the location we want it, so we're going to go here, pick this circle, and say inertial coordinate system. It put something there, and I want, once again, I want my x-axis going alongside the axis of the hole. Nothing wrong with as it is, okay, but I'm going to make it a little bit, make it work. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it about, let's say, about y-axis. So let's see if I enter 90. What happened? Okay, that's not going to work. I want to have the positive side. Okay, so that works. Now in this case, I don't want to leave it like this. I want the z also pointing into the forward direction, means this direction. Okay, so I need to write another extra rotation, because when I align the plate, plate axis, also the forward axis of the plate should align with this guy. So I'm going to make the z axis in this direction. Okay, so we need another rotation, so in about x. So let's see what happened. That's not the way I want it. I want the other way. Okay, so that works. So let's leave it as it is. So we have another coordinate system created. Now I created it here, doesn't matter. Okay, now if you go and look at in the model, the assembly model, it is automatically copied. Okay, so that's kind of obvious, right? So now I'm going to hide this guy, bring the base plate in. Let's see where it is. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to orient it the way I want it, and that's the hole I want to target to create the this thing. So now base plate, I want to make this guy active again. So somehow I'm getting kicked out of that, but so fine. Now I click on the base plate. Now it is active. Go here. So say base B. So base plate LCS. Okay, and I'm going to select this circle and say inertial coordinate system. Now obviously it's not where the way I want it to be aligned. X needs to be aligned along the axis of the hole. So once again, a rotation about y is needed. Let's see the other way, and I want z to be in this direction, so it's about another rotation about x. Okay, let's see this. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So let's make this guy, accept this guy as it is. It's acceptable. Recompute. Now make this model active. I want to bring this guy here. So what I do is go and insert. I want the base plate, insert it. Now base plate is local coordinate system. I want to be aligning with the top bracket, right? Top bracket. And I'm going to want this guy aligning with this guy. Make sense? Nicely done. Okay, so we got that done and just need to blow that one off. Okay, so you got that correctly done. Now we have base plate aligning with the top bracket. Okay, so next step is to create the screw or the bolt in this case put into these two holes. Okay, now the obvious place or the place for us to have that screw is to the screw head should rest on this face. Okay, so obviously now you already kind of thinking now, okay, I know what to do now, because just create a two coordinate systems on these two holes and bring the screw in. Now we had only one screw here, right? I mean, you kind of think, okay, where is the other screw? You don't need another one, because that's the beauty of the assembly. You have one screw. When you can bring it multiple times into the model, same screw, and you can assign it to a different location. Okay, so let's create these coordinate systems and then let's complete this model. So it's going to be pretty easy. So I'm going to go back to my top bracket, make it visible, and I'm going to activate just in case I forget it. So let's go and activate this guy. There should be a better way to activate that, but never mind. So now you are in this active body. Going to create a one coordinate system. Going to say, we'll create the right one first. So right screw or something. I can rename it. Okay, it created the original at the origin. Going to pick this circle, say inertial coordinate system. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to rotate it about y. Okay, so let's see, maybe I'm going to put -1.5 this time. Yeah, that worked. So now you have I mean, don't get confused with the other one. This is the bottom one which you already created. This is the new one. Okay, so you're done. Going to do the same thing here. Need to recompute. Pick the model again, another coordinate system. So let's say left screw, pick this guy and initial. Let's do -90. That should take care of that. Let's say okay. Okay, so maybe never mind. Let's see how we can get that one. So okay, so let's go to the screw now. Let's make it disappear, make it active. Screw, cut the screw. See whether we can create a coordinate system without making it active. See whether it'll work. Screw. I think it did. Let's see. So I want to obviously pick this face, right? Probably not. Let's see. Oh, it did. So yeah, we are okay with that. So I'm going to, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to have the X in this direction. Okay, because the way we created the holes coordinate system, they were all pointing up. So I mean, you are kind of motivated to do it in this direction, but I'm going to do it this one because the way I align the holes. Okay, so once again about y-axis, let's say 90. See whether that works. Okay, that should take care of that. Okay, okay, they compute it. Now we are going to go back and switch this guy on and bring the screw in. Okay, so let's bring the screw body 1. Let's see, I'm going to place it with respect to the top bracket, and first I'm going to bring it to the right side. Okay, see whether that worked. Let's see. Yeah, it seems like it worked. Okay, so that worked. Now I need to bring it again to the left side. So I'm going to bring again, insert, and pick the same thing, top bracket, pick on this, and then this time I'm going to pick the left side. Okay, so that worked. So I'm going to hide this guy, and now you got the assembly completed. Once the assembly is completed, let's see what we can do with that. Okay, so I'm going to first make these coordinate systems disappear by pressing spacebar. Okay, let's see what else we got. Top bracket, screw. Yes, so then even here this one probably is in the pin. Okay, maybe it's in the top bracket. Oh no, never mind, we can keep it there for now. So so what are things we can do with it? Let's see, can we move this guy around? We should be able to. Let's say transform, and maybe move it around, lift it up. Okay, so you can do that, no problems. Okay, now can any of these base parts, let's see whether we can blow this guy off. Let's see if I move the base part around and see what happens. So let's okay, transform this guy anywhere you like it. So does that screw up our assembly? No, that did not. I moved this base plate to somewhere else, and I can pretty much move any of these parts in the folder, but that has no impact to the assembly, because assembly is essentially constrained by the local coordinates axis that we have defined. So that has anything that you move within the parts folder has no impact. So that's number 2. See whether we can do some operations on this guy. So what I'm going to do is make this guy active. See, or maybe I have already active, so I'm going to activate again. See if I can do some kind of operation. Let's see whether I can do like a sketch here. So have this, see whether we draw something. Okay, that didn't work. Going to delete that sketch. Somehow the issue with this is we moved it, so we don't know exactly where the origin is. So what I need to do is to base plate, make it active, and then go and click on this guy and see, let's see. Okay, so now if I put something here, see what happens. I gotta, let's see whether we can do operation with that sketch. Yeah, so you could do something like that. I gotta say through all. Okay, so I mean you can essentially use this model. So essentially that sketch is in this base plate, so you have this pocket. So you could do some operations as well within the assembly itself. So you can explore more on that because now we have this assembly. We can do some of the operations inside the assembly. Now what will happen is this base plate will have that same hole, or you could do here and it'll get copied here. Either way is possible. Okay, so the another one I want to do is I want to put a like a, let's say I want to make this top bracket active, and I want to pick this side surface and create a plane, and see it says plane face, and it created a plane. Now I don't like that if the entire body disappeared. I don't like that, but hey, that's what it is with Freecad. So you have this face. Now one thing we want to see is we want to see inside some cross section. So one way to do that is to do a clipping plane. Go to view and clipping plane, and now you got multiple options here. Let's see which one I want to say. X with a CX. Okay, X is not what I want. Let's see, Y, not that. Z. Okay, so that's what I want. So you can clip a plane and you can see inside. So okay, I don't like that. Maybe I can do that. So you can see the screw is nested and this pin is nested inside this top bracket, and I can actually offset it. You can start offsetting it, the plane, and you can go all the way to the other side. So let's see. And go all the way. So you can now see how the screw is nesting inside the board. Yeah. So you can do this is useful in assemblies where you want to check whether you got all your parts correctly aligned, because this is a simple assembly. You will have a much more complicated assembly, and you want to see that. Okay, so let's take that one off, and I can switch off the data plane as well. So now another thing you will run into is, you want to take some dimensions. Once the parts are assembled, you want to take some dimensions with respect to the each of the parts. So let's go back to the assembly to do that. So if you're in the assembly workbench, you have this icon, measure tool. Now in the measure tool, you have a couple of options. You can measure angles or radii, distance, angles, and you want to lock into the right location. So I'm going to click on this guy. This will help me to lock into where I want to measure. And I want to measure a distance. I want to measure the distance between the center of this hole versus this guy. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to pick this guy and pick this hole. So that gives me about a ½ inch distance between the two. Okay, so this is a cool feature. You will see not just your total distance, but you will see the components XYZ also. So that's vitally, that's pretty useful when you are in assembly. Okay, so that kind of conclude this tutorial. And I know this is not the did not cover whole Assembly4 module or the workbench, but I'm going to create few more videos on assembly, and I will try to cover most of the assembly workbenches. Okay, so hopefully you guys learned something new here. I would really appreciate if you guys give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.